Some people possess such a level of an individuality complex to the point where their perception is so clouded by the idea that they're so much better than basic Bethany because they wear heavy makeup and listen to scary music. People over on TikTok have diluted the meaning of subculture, watering it down to nothing but merely a style. And it's annoying because subcultures with such abundant history seems to be constantly put on the back burner, and we constantly have to talk about the fact that being basic somehow means that you're not expressing your personality enough, and that in fact it isn't a form of self-expression whatsoever because, again, you don't listen to scary music or wear big eyeliner. Even though that isn't all there is to being alternative, but it seems to be that the conversation over on alternative TikTok really hasn't changed all that much in the past couple of years. Something that a percentage of alternative TikTok seems to believe is that it's okay to bully basic normies because historically people of subculture have been made fun of, harassed, discriminated against simply because they present different than normal, for a lack of better term. The music, media, literature, art that people of subculture have been into has also been heavily scrutinized due to the themes of Satanism, horror, darkness, etc. There's so much that has been put against people who have been alternative in the past. So it's like, I understand this notion of, I got bullied by normies in school, so I'm just going to bully every single normie ever because they may be thinking that I look weird or that I come off weird just because I choose to look different and I have different interests. And it's just like, no, we cannot paint everybody with the same brush just because you had a negative experience at school. Guess who else had a really terrible negative experience at school that pushed me to the brink of suicide? Yes, me! But I'm still not going to demonize every single person ever that looked like the bullies because that would just be stupid, wouldn't it? Well, it seems like that's what a portion of alternative TikTok is doing, and it's like, I get it. I get the pain, I get the hurt, and I get the traumas involved, right? But you cannot demonize somebody because you had negative experience with the basics. It's like, oh, dude. Mummy Longlegs' song Sorority Girls was trending on TikTok not even a couple months ago. Hey girls, let's all look the same and act really stupid because they like us that way. People have either been making TikToks poking fun at those that went through their little emo phases and came out on the other side being basic, and they're kind of just like, well, look at these trend hoppers. I knew all of you was trend hopping. Wait, let me see if I can find the next alt person on TikTok who's just trend hopping. And it's like, you guys really spend your time out here poser checking? I mean, I get it. Having posers in the community is harmful because they're constantly spreading misinformation. They think it's just a fashion statement, and it's like, no, babes, like... But I really don't like this idea that young people are not allowed to experiment and try and find themselves. A lot of people who have those kind of like emo phases, for, again, lack of a better term, aren't stupid because they came out on the other side and they realized, actually, this is not me. This doesn't represent really much that I like. Like, I like a few emo bands, but, you know, I don't really want to present that way because I like this style and I'm actually into this aesthetic and so forth. Obviously, for us who belong to specific subcultures, it isn't just a phase or a trend for us. We get that. And I think, again, that's pretty obvious in of itself. And we have another issue as well over on alternative TikTok, and it's like, ugh, imagine being basic. Imagine not expressing yourself. Imagine being a drone, and it's like, not everybody is going to express themselves in the same way that you are. Being alternative isn't the only way to express oneself. There are so many different ways, and of course you can look at someone who is quote basic and be like, you know what, that isn't something that I enjoy doing. I like this, I like that, and I also like looking a certain way. And that can coexist with people expressing themselves in a more toned down way. Maybe they like popular music because it's popular for a reason. And if we are to get real technical here, I didn't see any of yous popping out the puss with Susie Sue records, wearing the tightest corsets one could, and owning the Raven. Let's not do the same thing to others that has happened to us historically, and that is judging somebody based off of their appearance alone, or for their quote lack of identity that I keep seeing. Like, I don't want to call out anyone in specifics because they generally seem like nice people, beautiful people, and whatever, but sometimes I see things over an alternative TikTok and I'm like, how is anybody even getting into subculture these days when all it seems to be is just a competition on who is expressing themselves the most, who looks the most goth, who looks the most emo, who is the most garu, person ever. And it's just like, dude, enjoy what it means to be in that subculture, not what other people see externally. I don't know, it's really weird to me. It's a different side of the same coin where alternative people, using an umbrella term here, have been called freaks, Satanists, weirdos, and
still a very attractive woman. She's
what? She can dress like this. She could go far. She could go so far.
So you feel like this is holding her back? How is this holding her back?
It's holding her back because no one will give her a chance, because the way she looks, they assume.
Now it's the people who call themselves alternative and think that just because somebody presents as quote normal means they have no substance, no personality, and they're just like every other on the planet who doesn't express themselves the same way that I do, because apparently that's the only form of self-expression. Because in all honesty, it is just so hypocritical, and there is nothing really all that wrong in being a hypocrite sometimes, because people live, people learn. This song wasn't saying, ew, basic girls, they have no personality because they don't look like us and they're not like us. We're not like other girls. Sorority Girls is a song talking about your basic sorority girl or frat boy in college. It talks about how the basic and fake personalities and vibes of them make the singer want to barf, being disgusted and annoyed with such behavior. Why are we judging people for being basic? You do realize that doesn't make you any better, right? Yes to this, my love. I think maybe they do it because those people have a history of judging alternative styles, or because they don't like the simplicity of the style or the attitudes, behaviors associated with it. But that would be generalizing an entire group based on the actions of a few. Yes, history proves that alternative people have had it tough trying to exist as their true authentic selves.
Hard to understand phenomenon. Why would people obsess about death, dress up like vampires, and keep dead things around the house?
That also doesn't make it okay for us to just target a bunch of people who did absolutely nothing to us. I don't hate a quote basic because I got bullied in school. No, I'm probably not gonna like somebody because they're a shit cunt, or maybe they're annoying. I don't know. I'm not even really the type to dislike too many people unless they're bigots and shit cunts, like I said. Now, I've told this story before here on this channel quite briefly, but I feel the need to repeat it again just for argument's sake. I went out one night with my sister Haley and our best friend, and we had just left a really cute bar. We had a few drinks and we wanted to go suss out this club, just a couple steps down or whatever. So we head in and it's a little dead because it's it was like 11:30 or something. Club culture doesn't really start here until 12:01. And so we have a couple of shots and we're dancing for a little bit, and then we head out because it's not really our vibe. As I'm walking out though, I walk past this tall, blonde, white dude and he full says to me, ugh! and that I look like an ugly bitch. By the way, that was in front of multiple girls who didn't pipe up or say anything, which maybe they thought it was funny. Maybe they don't like alternative people. Maybe they were like, oh my god, Josh Slow, like, yeah, get him. Regardless, I am quite understanding that if I'm to go out in public looking a certain way, that maybe I'll get looks, maybe I might receive a few Suicide Squad comments and, you know, the popular, tonight will be the night I fall for you. It has happened so many times, I can't even count anymore. I don't have enough fingers, unfortunately. When I also have presented in my more extreme looks out in public, particularly in the city, I have received comments like, freak, ew, what is she wearing? And it's, you know, expected because it still is quite uncommon to see people present in that fashion. So does that mean that I walk past every single basic person and I'm like, oh my God, you look stupid, like I hate you because a few people have made me feel really shitty in the past? No, because those weren't the people who did anything to me. It's a certain few shitty people. And that's what we got to differentiate here. You're not better than anybody because you think you're really cool for being in a subculture. How about just enjoy the subculture? How about stop trying so hard to one up people on a constant basis just based on the fact that you wear heavy makeup and you have maybe a crazy hairdo and some out there clothing. Like, I really don't like that part of the internet's alternative community because it's like, it's pointless. Why does it matter if Bethany is expressing herself in a way that maybe you don't understand because you're alternative, you don't enjoy what Bethany enjoys? I feel like I also have to touch on this point and this topic as well, the copy paste alt shit, which is such a sad ass term that I've seen some alternative people over on TikTok coin, and I really don't know why we need this infighting. I don't know why you want to go ahead and judge somebody because maybe they look really similar to 5 other people on TikTok, because isn't that the entire point? How different do you expect people to look? Genuinely. And I think maybe the reason why I don't care so heavily about, you know, the camo shorts wearing, huge septum piercing having, you know, just got into dystopian is probably because it's such a nothing burger matter. Yes, call out posers who are spreading misinformation and are only in the scene because they want to be edgy to prey on other people, such as like date them, try and hook up. That is not okay because you are fetishizing people based on their looks alone, and that is shitty and it's not okay. I think my problem comes from the fact that you're saying copy paste alt. Meanwhile, there are so many alternative people out there who look similar and you're targeting them based on the actions of a few people. You want to go ahead and judge somebody for being a cunt? Go right ahead and do that. I'm just not sure why appearance needs to come into y'all's arguments at all. I've already made my stance extremely clear on certain alternative people targeting basics just because they don't see that as a form of self-expression, I guess, or maybe that person isn't comfortable in expressing themselves because they live at home with people who don't accept that shit and don't want to see it. Maybe they come from a religious household, and strangely nobody talks about these copy and paste alt girls who buy from Shein and Temu. I would just like to say that 80% of alternative TikTok goes on and on and on about that specific topic. And I mean, rightfully so, because it kind of just goes against the belief system of certain subcultures. Depending on what subculture you're in, maybe, you know, people don't really care about it that much, or maybe people do really care about it because it's forced labor, it's fast fashion, it is terrible for the environment, and it is also terrible for the people who are mass exploited to pump out a product for nothing. What about the copy-paste alt girls who don't buy from Shein or Temu and they happen to look very much similar to these copy-paste alts? And you know, I'll be honest and I'll say, I really hate this part of the alternative community, and not this person in specifics, because, you know, they're probably just repeating stuff to get more alternative cred. I mean, I don't know. There's only so much we can educate people on why they shouldn't buy into fast fashion being under the alternative umbrella. Because, you know, unfortunately, a lot of your big goth clothing brands, they look like Shein quality. They feel like Shein quality. Alternative people can only present themselves so much more different than one another because everything has pretty much already been done. You just have to make things into your own, and you've got to come up with ideas to differentiate yourself from the next person. But that shouldn't be your entire goal. Being an alternative person is trying to look so much more different than the next person, because it's like, it's a losing game really. And one thing about alternative TikTok is that a lot of it is made up of younger teenagers who scour Pinterest and TikTok constantly because they want their looks to be very extreme, because they're young, they're experimenting, they're wanting to express themselves, they have that, you know, natural teenage angst in them. Sure, you can make things yours and individual to you, but for the most part, if you're gonna do, say, trad goth makeup, chances are you're gonna look like many other goths. That's the whole thing, right? And I mean, who cares if you look like this goth or that person or this person? I hate how some people think that you can't have a certain style being in a subculture because it's like, well, you're not trying to set yourself apart, you're trying to look like every other person out there. It's just going back to my point of judging people based solely on their appearance and not how they are as a person. Because it doesn't surprise me how many DMs, emails, all the shit I get from baby bats who are like, I'm scared to openly be goth on social media because it seems like people get so much backlash from goths because you're not doing your makeup properly enough, you don't have all of the goth clothes ever, you don't have this, you don't have that, and it's just like, dude, it's all just noise. Who cares? Who cares about that shit? It is always very telling to me when an alternative person is more focused on the way someone looks rather than the person that they are in general. Oh my god. I just wish that TikTok in particular understood that, you know, being in a subculture isn't so much about trying to look the part and instead actually be it. Copy paste all in all, such a shitty term coined by that ass app. Like, you're literally putting down a bunch of people who look similar based on the actions of a few annoying cunts in the scene. It's just like, oh my god, it's tiresome. Whether you are somebody who is alternative or not, it doesn't make it that you have any less of a personality because you aren't alternative. And it also does not mean that you have any more of a personality because you're alternative. And I know that may come across harshly, but seriously, it is such a shit show over on that app in terms of the scene, the subcultures, everything. I hope that you feel a bit better after listening or watching this video, because I find that so many people are just so negative and hateful on the alternative side of TikTok, because if you don't look like this, if you don't have these clothes, if you don't have these tattoos or piercings, like, forget it. You're not alternative, you're not goth, you're not emo, you're not scene, you're not this, you're not that. And it's just like, who the are you guys to tell people who they are? Even if they are going through a phase, they're what, probably like 14? I mean, how do you expect people to find themselves, man? They have to try and experiment. But again, I've already gone through all of that in today's video, and just know that I do see a lot of your guys' emails and DMs over on Instagram about this topic, because so many of you feel that you aren't alternative enough because you don't have black hair, you don't have piercings, you don't have tattoos, and you try and DIY everything as much as possible, but you don't have the latest Kill Star drop. And it's just like, sweetheart, you know, I one of these days, I am going to make a very passionate goth history video and how much I love the subculture so much. So with all of that being said, everybody, if you have anything that you would like to send to me via email, send it over to dramakweensubmissions@gmail.com or comment your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I cannot wait to see your beautiful faces in the next Yap. Thank you for your stay at Yappersville today, everybody. Take care of yourselves and most of all, love your fucking selves.